Working on the arm armor, the bracer. So just to kind of figure out where it hits, I look at where the end of it hits my fingers, the wrist, kind of get some reference points so I know how big to make this thing. I mean, it's partly a guess, but it does have a wrap that comes around the thumb, and I need enough space to get a lot of wrap there. So you have this bracer going up the arm, then you have this little extra piece, and so, I mean, if you're looking at the reference picture, it comes more centered, but if I were to center it up, more, let's see. If I were to center up more of my forearm, I would not be able to bend my arm. So that's just something to look out for, that I'm going to adjust it so that I can bring my arm up all the way to my face. I want full range of movement in the costume. I think, that looks about like the right size as far as, everything. Once I cut it out of the foam, I may adjust it then. Smaller if anything, probably not larger. But I mean, the range of movement seems good. It seems like I have enough space for the straps to be on it. So that is the arm armor. Next step is to cut it out of some foam. Reference photos show wraps going from wrist to elbow, some other straps, and a bunch of buckles. I'm not gonna do all the buckles. I've got some metal tri-glides. This also has like another wrap going around this upper piece. I'm not gonna do that. That's too much. I'm gonna just tie this band into the band that goes around the arm. I like to simplify things if possible. It's just too many bands. So I was getting ready to work on my helmet. Yeah, I didn't super glue it. I didn't have any super glue. I did use Gorilla Glue. And I had duct tape to hold everything together. I had some clothespins, tight as clamps. As I was taking it all apart, it all just came right apart. Check that out. So you can see the clear is the Gorilla Glue. It did not bond. It bonded well to this plastic. This is styrene to styrene. I assumed this mask was some shape of styrene, but it did not bond to the mask at all. I mean, it just let go of it directly. But super glue, which is really what I probably should be using, I just didn't have any on hand. I was trying to make progress, despite the fact that it should melt the plastic and bond it, form a better bond. So I think the mask is in limbo until I get some super glue. But it's not bad. It's not a bad piece of plastic in there. I mean, the shape is decent. I was going to work on that, but I'm going to have to shelve it. And I'm going to work on my bracers. You can see I've cut it. I'm going to look at it again today, kind of make sure, does it look the way I want it to look? Is it shaped the way I want it shaped? Does it hit all the points, like as far as on the wrist and on the forearm? I like the range of movement. Oh, also, quick note. If you're a baseball fan, today is Maximum Chaos Day. If the Yankees or Red Sox lose and the Mariners or Blue Jays win, we get a wild card tie. So I'm hoping the Red Sox and Yankees lose. I'm against the Yankees just because the Braves lost against them so many times in the 90s, and that was disappointing. Seattle, I love Seattle. Back from the King Griffey Jr. days, I love their logos, their colors. Man, Seattle is Seattle. I love that team. And the Blue Jays, hey, they got a great young team. And I just like the idea of chaos and a four-way tie. I doubt it's going to happen. But if we get three-way tie, I would take that. We'll see. But if you like baseball, man, that's something to check out. And you don't like baseball, it's still fun. I mean, this is like that year one day of the year where you can tap into baseball because it's the best day. Well, I don't know if it's the best day for it, but a very good day for it. That's enough of me editorializing. I'll stop that now because you're not here for baseball. And if you are, it's a really long way around to get to baseball if you're here for me building a costume. So this is something helpful I do. I'm putting some marks across the forearm armor and the wrist armor. Just so I have to put this back together. I like the placement, how this worked out lengthwise and everything. So I just have some marks so when I take it apart to cut the pieces out of foam, I can put this back together and get an idea of where did I have it, just so I'm not starting from scratch every time. Because I will. I'm going to undo this because I'm going to cut these pieces separately. And that way I've got these reference marks, so I know how it lined up to the forearm armor. So everything, I just know where I had it, because that's where I liked it. I'm still working on my bracers. I'm still need a little bit of work to do. They're segmented in 4 places, so these edges on both sides, they need to fold down just a little bit, so I need to put a slice in the back, so it'll do that. Another thing with foam, like, there's always a telltale sign you're working with foam is if you see material that has this thickness, it's a 3/8 thickness. So what I often do when I'm working with foam, just to hide that foam, because I want it to look legit, and I can just spot foam from a mile away. I'll either round off the top edge, so when you round it off, it gets a little bit of a thinner profile to where the edge tapers down. what I've also done is I'll just take from the backside, I'll just sand it down, kind of a taper from the backside, like a very long taper, so we get a thinner edge. Just because if these bracers were metal, it would not be this thick. This would be super thick for metal. Now looking at all the reference photos, the bracers look this thick. I think in actuality, there's no way they would be that thick. So you have the decision, or I have the decision, you don't, because this is my costume, and your costume, you have the decision. Do I go to the reference material and make it probably about this thick, that's what it looks like, or do I thin it out to what I think it would be in actuality? And so usually when I'm doing a costume, I'm going to err on the side of what do I think it'd be in the real world. So this, I'm going to thin it down. I'm going to thin it down from the back a little bit, just because you will see these ridges a little bit. So I'm going to thin that down a bit. And then I'm going to round off the top too, so that's going to get a little bit of a thinner profile. Now, I'm going to keep it as thick as I can in the center here. It's just the edges I want to thin down, just to where it looks a little more realistic. And like, it's like this part, this is where these attach. I don't want to thin this top one down too much. Probably not thin down the bottom at all, maybe a little bit just to get some of these ridges. But I want to keep that thick because this is a connection point, and that will be weak if I make it too thin. So that's always something else to keep in mind. So that's where I mean, these things, I like how they look. I like the overall size. I just need to get these edges, these fold down, because if they don't fold down, you can see how it does not really contour to my arm. So that's why, I mean, the reference photos, they fold down a little bit, and plus they'll just fit better too. So we're going to do that. So I'm marking where the fold needs to be, and I just now realized that I'm marking the top side, which I need to mark the back side because the cut is going to be along the back side. So I'm lucky I caught that, otherwise I'd have a slight to moderate mess on my hands. But I would have known once I started cutting. I didn't have a line. And Sharpie really is the best thing to use for marking foam that I found. I mean, it can transfer to your hands if you don't give enough time to dry. But the problem with pen or pencil and those things is that they're going to leave an imprint on the surface of the foam, and you don't want that. You generally want a clean edge. If you're looking at that cut, you can tell I need to change my blade because that blade was just dragging through it. It should cut very clean, very easy, and it's not. So I need to change my blade. And I knew I needed to change my blade, but I was trying to get to that one cut. Probably shouldn't push it because you're just going to mess stuff up when you're pushing a blade like that. Change them frequently, change them often, and you will get good results. So I think I've peaked this piece of armor a little bit too much. I think it needs to round over just a little bit more. I mean, looking at some of the pictures now, it looks a little more flat. It's just difficult to tell how these things are shaped sometimes. Originally, I was going to just glue these two pieces together, but looking at it, it'd be nice to have a little bit of articulation. When this is on my arm, it'd be nice to have that little bit of articulation. It'd be easier for me. I'm just going to strap it, glue this strap with contact cement to it, because it'll still give that articulation, but it won't pull out or move. It should keep it, with two of them, it should keep it pretty much in place, which will be good. So otherwise, when it's glued together, I will not be able to bend my wrist, or not easily, because this will be strapped to my wrist. So that's the plan with these. I need to still smooth out all the edges. And it really, I've looked at the reference picture again, it really is this thick. I'm going to flatten off some of this texture just so that I make it a little bit thinner. I might round off these corners a little bit, because it looks too thick to me, but looking at reference pictures, this does seem like the thickness. So I smoothed out each piece on the belt sander, just going around the edges to get them smooth and even. I did use an 80 grit and sanding block to round over these edges. Belt sander just moves a little too quick. It's too easy to get it looking ragged and jagged. So that was with the sanding block. But I mean, overall, these pieces look nice. A little bit of jaggedness here. That'll clean up. So now I need to glue them all together and get these things going. But I think now this just looks better to me with these rounded edges. It looks a little bit more accurate. So the strapping on this works great. It gives me a lot of flex. And so there's leather strapping that goes down the arm to hold the bracer on my arm. I will probably just contact cement one end of the leather strap and then do Velcro on the other side, and that way I can just take these off a lot easier instead of trying to figure out anything else. I mean, you could use elastic, but it's leather, so leather's going to look better because you are going to see some of these inside straps. And there's a strap down the arm here, and then this top when it goes, there's a third one. So yeah, I'm just going to do Velcro. I mean, I think in some of the screenshots there's a buckle, and I actually bought a tri-glide for these buckles. but it's just going to be easier if I just contact cement one side and then just Velcro the other to get these on and off. I mean, I could try to do the tri-glide just so it looks a little more screen accurate, but if I do, I'll just put the tri-glide in the middle and then just still have the Velcro, because that's the easiest way to get these things off and on rather than trying to have buckles and all that stuff. But first, I need to heat treat it, and I'm probably going to paint it before I try to glue this on, because if I glue the straps on, and I'm going to use leather, not this, I'm just using this to make sure I kind of got everything in place. So if I glue the straps on before I paint it, I just have to mask them off, and I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just make things easier. These dots, these are where the rivets go. There are rivets, you know, in the game to connect the strap to the bracer. So I'll drill a hole for these rivets, then I'll heat treat them, get everything going. And so up here, there's a strap around my arm, and then there's another strap across this one that I guess holds it in place. I don't quite know how it works. I mean, I would think that if you're making these bracers, you would just weld or bolt this part to this part, but that's not what the game shows. So I try to stay realistic as much as I can. And there's like a little piece of armor right here above the elbow. For right now, I'm thinking I might skip that because I have this shoulder piece that's going to come down. It'll probably come down right here. I don't think there's enough space for it. And it's such a piddly little piece of armor that I don't think I'm going to fool with it. I do need to figure out like the sleeve parts. There's basically like these almost like elastic sleeves that come up from the whole way. They're yellow. I was going to do black. I just think the silver looked better on the black. But in the game it is yellow. I'd like to kind of match the game. I'm undecided. I mean, part of me thinks it also look better just for it to be like a kind of like a 2 or 3 inch wide wrap that wraps around my arm and just Velcro it on the top side so the Velcro part doesn't show and the seam doesn't show. But again, that's straying from the way the game does it. I try to keep it realistic, but I just don't like the way it looks in the game. I just think like a 3-inch cloth wrap would look better. So that's another thing I'm going to have to figure out and consider what I actually want to do. So I've been using a drill to drill these holes for the rivets, and I realized I have a leather punch, and this is a leather punch. The holes are much cleaner. I don't know why I'd forgotten to have a leather punch, but I had. But the leather punch is going to be a much cleaner job. The drill wants to walk. It's such soft material that the drill, it's hard for it to stay intact. This leather punch does the job. I just put it over the hole. Boom, and it pops it right out. I mean, it's just, leather punch is perfect for cloth, anything soft like this. Once you punch it, I'll just use a pencil, punch the foam out. Missed that one. Pull from the back. Man, perfect little like mouse turd looking thing. Yeah, I mean you could use that for a prop if you were, I don't know, doing something. A little gray piece of rice, I don't know. But yeah, so if you've got a leather punch, do it. If you've got a drill, man, the drill works. These heads are big enough to cover up the little walking and, you know, the little nastiness I've created. But the punch is going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit nicer. So something to keep in mind that I had forgotten. So now I've made this video and I can remind myself when I'm making the costume next time when I use this video as research. So I've heat treated these things when they are looking good. The shape is good, the overall layout. I'm not sure they're 100% accurate. You know, this should be more center. I don't think there's this point. I left it. I just like the look of it. And the fact is I'm going to customize my costumes a little bit just the way I like it. And I just didn't want to cut the end of that off. I like the way it was. So the one thing I did notice is that after heat treating it, I got this little bit of a ridge there. I don't like that, so I'm just going to put a dab of contact cement along that line and then just smush it. That way it cheats a little bit. Nice thing is the foam has enough flex to do that. That way I just don't like that gap. It's just, I don't think it's going to look right. And so, I mean, I got a little bit of gap here, but I don't think you're going to notice that as well. That I don't like, so I will contact cement that and fix it. I mean, this flex is awesome. These things are looking good. I just need the strapping, but again, I'm going to paint that first. These, they are ready to paint. First I need to plastic dip it. That is part of the process. Then I'll paint it silver, and then I'll weather it like some black. I think is it enamel? I can't remember. I have to check my notes. But once I paint it silver, it's too shiny, so then you got to weather it with some black, maybe a little bit of brown, silver. I mean, I do a kind of a range of colors to make it look like it's been used. I may even do some scratches across it, like look like maybe a sword hit or something. I like that battle damage. And if you do a sword across it, when you nick that, I usually do like a wood burning kit. I've never used it to burn wood, always to burn foam. If you make a mar across that, then you make that scratch really shiny and silver, very clean, and then you kind of dirty up around it. It just makes it look really cool. Battle damage is always awesome. So that is the process we need to do with these. So the shoes were the first thing I bought for this costume. I bought these black wrestling shoes. I wanted all black, no color, no white, nothing. And I knew that ninja shoes, you know, they have the split toe where you got the big toe, and then the rest of the toes there's a split there. I knew that would be a little more accurate, but I was thinking, what's the cheapest shoe I can get? And it was this. I found these on sale for a great price. I think 35 bucks, which was way cheaper than any other shoe I could get. I mean, these look slick. They're very form-fitting. They're very small, like very, you know, like if you're breaking in like a ninja type thing, like these look like they're kind of shoes. But traditionally, ninja shoes had the split toe. And these were the first thing I bought. And if I was buying shoes now, I'd go the split toe. I just think it looked a little more accurate to the costume. I mean, it almost looks like, the reference picture looks like Scorpion's almost wearing thick socks with kind of like a braided rope sandal thong type thing going on. It doesn't look like the traditional like split toe thing I was seeing, but this, I don't know, it just doesn't quite look right. I don't know. I mean, I might see if I can like put a rope across to simulate it, but you're not going to get that inset in the toe. I don't know. I really think right now this is my biggest regret of the costume that I bought these shoes. I mean, I saved like, what, 15 bucks compared to getting the split toe ninja shoe. Hopefully it remains my biggest regret, because if I regret something more, that means something really went wrong, and I hope that's not the case. But I'm kind of regretting this. I mean, if I was buying shoes now, I definitely think the split toe, that extra 10, 15 bucks would be worth it, but I bought these first. Right now I'm working on the shin armor, and it goes front and back. It's 2 parts. It's got a little knee guard. So I'm working on that, try to get that right. And I'm wearing like these are my black ninja pants that poof out around the knee. And I mean, they work out really well. I bought them off Amazon as is, because I can make pants. I've made pants before, but it is a hassle. It is worse making pants than say like a shirt. There's just not so much room for air, and that makes it tough. So I bought some, and they look great. I mean, they're like all the kind of the dimensions, the way it poofs out around the knee and everything. I mean, it looks very ninja. So I'm wearing the right shoes, the right pants I'm going to have for the costume. So when I'm making the shin armor, I don't have any surprises. It fits the way it's supposed to fit, not too big, not too small, all that stuff. So that's where we're at. See, of course I'm going to start with paper template and go from there and see if we can get going.